Hi everyone, Samantha Varner here from Prosymmetry. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar where we are covering the tips and tricks about Tempus Resource. So really today is going to be more about not necessarily like true functionality, how to do things. It's just more about these little areas of Tempus that help make your user experience even better. So a few things I want to get started with first. This is for now one of our last weekly webinars under the Tempus University umbrella. We will be continuing this once the holidays end and once we're into the new year. And specifically, we, of course, knowing that, we will be having webinars that cover version 6.2 once that release is available, in addition to Insight Plus how-tos. So there will still be a lot of content that is available both live and recording. But for today, this is the last official Tempus University webinar for 2021. So if you've joined us before, thank you. If this is your first time, welcome. So today I'm going to start with kind of the basics of Tempus, just to kind of give us an idea of how the information works in Tempus, and then we'll go into those key areas. So Tempus Resource is a resource management tool, as you all know. And what's key about resource management is having that resource capacity defined. So really making sure that you have the supply, the hours, the FTE to give to a project. And that's the key thing there. So I like to think of Tempus as you're building it up more of a step process. So your resources need capacity, so that way you know how much to give. From there, you now need projects. You now need the work that is done in order to, carry out that capacity. There is a reason why you have it. And that is done, within the individual projects themselves. You assign that FTE, that time, whatever your business process is. Lean towards. So there are going to be a lot of things that kind of focus on resources as an object, projects as an object, and where some of these things blend together. So if I've worked with any of you from the beginning of your time with Tempus, one of the main things I always say is defining your attributes, defining your custom fields, that information that helps further define your projects and resources. That is really key to a successful implementation and further then adoption of Tempus in the future with your end users. So a few things I want to cover when it comes to attributes is not only can you create your attributes within the system itself under attribute management, and I do want a side note here, if you do not have admin access or restricted access, you will not be able to see this. This would be an admin item, and please reach out to your Tempus admin if you have ideas of attributes to add. But not only can you create project attributes, these can only be applied to projects. So we have a few sample attributes that we commonly see here. You can also create resource attributes. So this would be things like department, employment bases, really anything that you want to filter or sort your resources by. And then lastly, you can create assignment attributes. This type of attribute is the lesser known kind because it's not the most seen or readily available attribute. But knowing that Tempus defines an assignment as a project plus a resource, that creates the assignment. And with the assignment attribute, you can further define what that assignment means. So you'll see here we have things like active start date, active end date. Has this specific assignment been completed? And that's different from is the project completed? Any notes, maybe an assignment status. If any of you use the custom rate for projects based or for resources based on the project, this is where you would define that as well. Even though we do have milestones available in the system, maybe you want to further define those milestones. You can do that with an assignment attribute. Maybe priority. If you use the resource request trigger mode, you would create that assignment there as well. So again, these assignment attributes, lesser known, but very, very helpful when further defining your information in Tempus. And we'll take a look at what this looks like here in a little bit. One of the key areas, though, that is not always known, communicated to admins, and sometimes it's not fully embraced. In order for an attribute to display within a resources profile, and don't mind me here, I'm going to open up a second screen real quick, and we are going to go to a resource. Under the attributes and identity page, this also is available in projects. You have this resource layout here, or this attribute layout, apologies. Out of the box, required fields and optional fields are the layout that's created. But some things you'll notice here is because the system is very much out of the box, only system fields are showing. So these are all of the resource attributes that are created automatically by the system. We don't have, you know, department showing in here. We don't have that information displayed in the layout. In order to get these items into the layout, you do have to pull them into it. So whether you want to pull all of these into required, whether you want to pull all of these in optional, maybe you want to do it in this new section down here that can be easily created, you do have to pull them into that layout. Now, the great thing about this is, and let's go ahead and put this into this new section, you can then sort these to be however you would like them to be. We see this a lot when we see a lot of our customers order the layouts in terms of, okay, what information is needed next? What information is needed next? Oftentimes they create new sections over here. Maybe it's, you know, and that's going to populate down here. Maybe this new section is the business analyst analysis team, you know, the business analyst. Here are the attributes that this business analyst needs to fill out. You can determine if this section is expanded by default. Really a lot of this information here. So you can customize those sections and you can reorder that, which again is really just key to optimizing that user experience and that adoption there to make sure that your users best understand. Additionally, you can edit this required fields here. You can move all of these. If you do not use resource requests or timesheets, you can delete these from the layout so that way they are not even available in the layout. You do have so much capability here to customize these attributes. And again, this is available for projects. I'm not going to save these just because of the system. These are available in projects, same exact process that we did for the resources. Now, one of the things you may be thinking about is, okay, well, where do these where does this assignment come into play for this layout here? Because it only exists once the assignment is created. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes here so that way we can later see where this comes into play. But having this layout here, again, it's a great way to organize this information. So let's go ahead. I'm going to save those changes. We go back to the attribute list. This is where we create and edit. And let's go ahead and go back to our home page. So a few notes here on attributes. We have recently included in the system the ability to pull in attributes as columns into the allocation grid. So you'll notice in here, we have the assignment attributes of active end date, active start date, client rate. We have those pulled into here. And these can even be edited right in the grid here. So active end date, because this is of the type date, we can populate that. Active start date, you know, same thing here. Client rate, this is currency, so maybe I want to say that this is $70. You know, you can, very similar to anything like Excel, you can pull these columns in here and you can edit them. Another way to do this is if you were to check out the project and you click the pencil icon after expanding the resource, the pencil icon, and click assignment attribute. This is where that assignment attribute layout is going to display. And again, this is a fantastic way to organize those attributes as you need. Maybe it's specific teams who need to do specific work. A great way to have this information present. Now, I'm saying all of this, you know, Some organizations do not use the single project allocation grid at all. They only use bulk project allocation Flatgrid. You can do the same thing in the Flatgrid as well. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to that project tab so that way we see all of the assignments for this Apollo phase 14 right here. And it looks like we only have 2. And again, I'm going to click choose attributes. Right now, I already have assignment status pulled in here, and maybe I wanted to also have assignment notes. So you'll see these 2 things have populated in here. I'm going to hide the task column just so we have a little bit more space. And again, very similar to you know, any of the what we saw in the single project allocation grid. These assignment attributes can be edited right here as well, and that is because it is a resource on a project with a specific amount of time. This will update, you know, that value. So as it is with project and resource attributes, the minute you update it, it's updated. If you were to change, you know, a status from rejected to new, whenever you do any reporting on any statuses that are rejected or something like that, it's now going to be in that new because you've moved it there. So something to be super mindful of too is changing these values within these grids. It does persist, and it is, you know, an actual change to the value. So again, attributes, the lesser known one is that assignment attribute. However, it is extremely helpful when trying to parse out your data just a little bit more. All right. So next, in the you know, making that user experience just a little bit better, we are going to cover the different views that you can create under project and resource management separately, and then again the bulk project allocation and bulk project allocation Flatgrid. So each of these areas allows you to create a view specific to your needs. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these views. And this one here, I have named all projects view. I have pulled in specific columns that I would like to see. Maybe this is the most important information to me, you know, the project name. Maybe I have the ID over here, the start and end date. Are there any planned allocation hours? What are the actual hours? What's the priority? You know, is this a workflow project? And if so, what workflow, what state is it in? You can pull all of these columns in here so that way you can view all of this information at once. We often see specifically for projects the start and end date, the planned and actual, priority, things along those lines. And the great thing about this is this constitutes the view. I have formed this as the view. So now anytime I click this all projects view, this is what is going to display. You're probably thinking, okay, but what if I want to create multiple views, which we see all the time, and I highly recommend based on, you know, your organization's need. So let's go ahead and click create view, and then we're going to click new view. So you'll notice we are in this new view, and we have now gone back to the basics where only the project name is populated right now. We do not have any other columns in here. We do not have groups. We do not have any filters. So let's go ahead and let's just get some more information here. Start and end date. Maybe we want to know the last date that it was updated on. And then additionally, maybe we want to see the planned hours with the actual hours, and that's about it. However, say I only care to view this information for my high priority projects. I'm going to define a filter. I'm going to select my project priority filter or attribute that I already have created, and I want to only display all of the projects that belong to high. So their project priority is set to high. And now you'll notice here it is, you know, not nearly as many projects, but I'm only viewing those high priority projects. Now, you may be thinking, great, this is perfect. How do I save this? How do I persist this? So we've created a new view, and I always recommend doing a few things. One, let's name the view what it is. So high priority. We're going to hit save. The star will make it my default view. So every time I go to project management, that is the view that I'm automatically going to land on. And the lock icon will persist this view as it is. The columns, the order of those columns, the filters. If I were to be in this view and start adding some columns and then realize I've just messed up my view, as long as you have that lock icon on, this state of when you locked it is going to persist. Say we want to create views for medium and low, but we don't want to do that from scratch because, you know, takes some time. So let's go ahead and clone this view. You'll notice the clone down here. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and you will notice it's clone because clone will be added to the name. I'm going to rename it just because I want to make sure that I know exactly what I'm working with. Let's do medium. I'm going to unlock it because I want any of the changes that I make to persist. And I'm just going to reset this filter to medium. That's it. And now I have all of my medium projects here. I'm going to lock this again because I don't want any changes to be made. And then, you know, I can go through and say, okay, I want to clone this to do my low. I want to clone this to view this information in a different way. You have the ability to do that. One thing I wanted to mention too, now that I am in this all projects view, one thing that we do find really helpful as well is grouping by a specific item. So I'm going to go ahead and group by project priority. And you'll notice here, all of my projects have now rolled up to whatever priority they're assigned to. So high, here are all of my high projects. Low, here are all of those projects. Those medium ones, they're all there too. It even gives you a count, which is really helpful when just trying to better understand your projects. And then when you see project priority no value or attribute name no value, that is telling you that these two projects do not have that project priority defined. So we often see this when, you know, users want to make sure, admins, managers want to make sure that specific information is being completed. Grouping is a very easy way to see this to make sure that that's getting done. Now, one thing I had mentioned is that this is available in project management, resource management. It is the exact same process where you were able to see, I have a few, of course, named, but not set up yet. You know, this all resources view, that's my key view here. You know, what happens when I switch to other ones, or you know, really think of this information differently. Again, right here. Now, specifically for the bulk project allocation screen, this is it's really the same concept of how to build these views, but it's done just a little, it feels a little bit different because it's not, you know, filtering and implying that. So you'll notice here, let's go ahead and go to this default view for a second. If you don't have a view created, you are always going to land where it says default. I'm going to go ahead and clear all of this information, and the view is going to be what I populate now. So, you know, when you first go into Flatgrid, you have to set the parameters for the information provided to you. So here, maybe I want to look at, you know, Q4, calendar Q4 of 2021. I really only want to see that information. So perfect, have that defined up here. Maybe now I want to see, you know, these two specific projects. Maybe I want to filter by something to help me get those projects. Maybe I want to filter specific resources too, because I don't necessarily care about specific resources. And you'll notice all of this information is now populated down here. The attributes that we have defined, you know, the heat map that we have applied, the fact that we have the task column hidden. This is the view. This is the view that you're going to create. So when I'm in that default view, I'm going to rename this and say, you know, let's do Q4 of 2021, Team A projects, just to do what we need to do there. And now that is the view that's going to persist. It's going to be the view that we land on because it's starred. And as soon as we press this lock icon here, it is going to be saved specifically to these items. These views are really helpful because there is so much good information presented in different ways in the Flatgrid and in bulk project allocation. And these views make it very, very easy to toggle between the different information you have set up. So we see, resource managers, they only want to see their resources. Maybe they only want to see specific projects. Maybe they only want to see specific timeframes. And this is a fantastic way to build those views and then just click through them. Now, the number one question that we get when it comes to views is, can the admin set up views for everyone else? At this time, where version 6.1 is the current version, no. Views are defined individually. So what I recommend doing is sitting down with your team, whether it's training sessions or in a team meeting, and walking through creating views with everyone. So that way they have a few of those key standard ones. Really, really helpful there. However, I have heard, and I'm really hoping that here soon we will be adding the capability for admins to have globally defined views that are available, in addition to individuals being able to create their own views. Again, this is about user experience here, making sure the information that is top of mind is provided, is right there for your end users. All right, so another thing I wanted to go through, and I am going to focus on Flatgrid for this example. Flatgrid is one of our most important, or not important by any means, our most popular screens. A few things I want to do here, just because we do get this question all the time of, that's great, these two projects are in here. However, I just want to see all of Duracell's assignment and then all of Barcelona's. And right now, if you notice, we are sorted by resource name. If I were to click this, we can, Z to A sort. If I click it again, it's going to be back at that A to Z, or apologies, it's going to go back to the original state here. Now it's A to Z. I can do the same exact thing for project as well. So the minute I click on the word project, this is now sorting by alphabetical. Alphanumerical sorting, I should say. So 100% available in bulk project allocation, also available in the single project allocation grid, both on the task tab and the resource tab. So we often hear, I'll often get on calls with customers just talking about things, and we'll be in that single project allocation grid, and they'll say, I really want to be able to sort these names alphabetically. How do I do that? It's just a matter of clicking on the word resource name of that column, and bam, they're going to be sorted. Additionally, you can do further sorting down in this grid. So of course, you may know that you can filter projects and resources up here in your selection. However, say you get down here, you're looking at Barcelona and you're looking at Duracell, and you don't want to see the assignments with the status of canceled, deferred, or complete. So let's go ahead and do a does not belong to. And we do not want canceled, complete, or deferred. We want things that are active or maybe that are coming down the line. We can do further filtering in here in this grid. So that way, yet again, you are parsing down that information to the specific needs that you have. I do think this is one of the not commonly known items, just because it feels like, well, I've already filtered my projects and resources. How can I filter even more? Super easy to do. And again, the filters will persist with your view here. Very, very helpful. All right. The last thing I wanted to focus on is in report management, specifically report folders. Anyone who has access to report management can create a folder, and that will display to all users. So something to be mindful of there. This report folder structure, it's very, very similar to like a shared drive, and that's really what it was modeled on. Once the folder's created, like I said, whatever you name it, it's available to anyone. But this really is the answer to wanting to better organize your reports. For those of you who are familiar with the report list, you have the Mine tab, then you have the All tab, which is projects that are shared with you. And it can get, excuse me, depending on how many reports you have, it can get, pretty bogged down and disorganized. So the report folder is that answer to further organization. And the great things about these report folders is, I'm going to go ahead and click create folder. I'm going to name this Samantha's folder. Let's go ahead and save that. This is a very much drag and drop feature. So this allocation and capacity, I want to pull this into Samantha's folder. I want all of this information to be there. Maybe I want individual resources to be in this webinar folder. And then you'll notice as you double click into them, those reports are going to be in there. They're going to be organized that way. You now only have to see the specific reports that you're looking for. We've seen a lot of success and a lot of good feedback around when there are multiple teams, multiple managers within Tempus, you know, if they've cloned reports to be filtered just to that manager or just to that team or something. If the admin has done that, shared it with everyone, a great way to get this information concisely is creating folders for those teams, for those managers, really whatever that breakdown is for you. And again, very similar to the block project allocation screen, you can filter by this. You can choose specific columns to come in. So all reports offer a description, so you can pull that one in. Maybe you don't want to know the source at all. Maybe you don't want to know when it was created or who was last updated by. Maybe you want the updated on date. Really customizable screen here. Something to be very, very mindful of. Like I said, we see a lot of success when there are multiple teams, multiple managers in here trying to get this information organized. So the last item before we wrap up today, I want to go over some key things regarding just usability of Tempus overall. So recently we did add a search functionality, and you'll notice here you can search a project name, a resource name, even an attribute and a report. So if you come into Tempus and you know that you have an immediate need, maybe you want to look at a specific resource. So I want to look at Colin here, type in his name, click it, it's going to land on his resource profile screen. I have it configured to land on the capacity tab, so that's what it's doing. Say you are an admin or someone who just wants to edit some of those attributes. I can search an attribute, I can click on it, and it's going to take me to that attribute in the attribute management screen. Again, projects you can do this with, reports you can do this with. You want to filter out specific things, you can do that here as well. This search bar is super, super, super helpful when just trying to get to something very, very simply and easy without having, to go to that project management list or to go to that resource management list. So highly recommend utilizing this. Additionally, we have the hamburger menu, which has all of the areas that a user has access to. They can select this from any screen that they're on to go straight to that screen. I apologize, I hit the right mouse. Excuse me. I need some water after this. And then additionally, the help icon here, once you click this, will open up our help center. The help center is available to everyone. I'm going to go ahead and click mine here. And the help center here really, again, very much user-friendly, searchable. All of our videos, including this one, are in the Tempus University area. So a lot of good content right there. And then the last thing I want to highlight is every user has a profile. This is where their password is managed. This is where their impersonations are managed. API token is a little bit more technical. And then in the next version of Tempus, you will have the ability to, resources will to at least, to control their own skill matrix. So from here, they would be able to click My Skill Matrix, and they would be able to select those categories, select those skills, and define from there. Again, if they have access to do so. And then once you click the Tempus logo up here, you're going to go back to that home screen. So this was a very, very comprehensive and maybe even a little too fast tips and tricks of Tempus. So again, didn't really cover much of functionality, but definitely some user experience items that help drive and make Tempus even easier to use for your users, your resources, just some good information to have. If you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to answer them. Feel free to send me an email after this. If you would like to, if you have questions about just your current setup or attributes or anything like that, and you're not the Tempus admin at your organization, feel free to reach out to that Tempus admin. They will be able to answer some specific items that are present in your environment. But other than that, I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for joining. Bye, everyone.